why is it that we have to look at everything in either or terms when we know we get to better answers when we bring a more nuanced, a more inclusive conversation to the table.
Yeah.
And so when we were offered the opportunity to lead this, it was right away. I knew this is what we wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about what it looks like in practice, right? About how you may, in your business or even in your life, how do you practice that sort of power of and instead of either or?
Well, it's easier for me to talk about business because I live this every day.
Please.
And our CEO and chairman, Brian Moynihan, will be here today, and he'll talk about profits and purpose. And he'll talk about the fact that they're not an either or, they're both, they're an and. And more importantly, they have to be. Like if we want to be successful long term, we have to do both. And so that basically means that yes, we're going to go to work, we're going to do our work correctly, but if we stay focused on our mission, which is to improve financial lives, both things happen. So we'll talk about this today, but if you're clear on who you're serving and that person has a good experience, lots of good things happen.
I mean, it really is a shift in thinking, I think, for a lot of folks. It's sort of building a new muscle memory.
I think it's building, I don't know if it's a new muscle, but I think it's a muscle that we haven't exercised in a while because we've allowed ourselves to sit in dualistic binary thinking, either or. And the real danger in it, Zoe, is that it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and when in real life, none of us are all or nothing of any label. You know, life's more complicated than that. And with all of the challenges and frankly, opportunity that we have in front of us, you know, we need to bring our best thinking to bear. And Michigan deserves it. And I'm really excited to start that conversation this week.
I think there is this interesting dynamic, right, where it feels like the country has never been more politically intense. But then when you actually hear from voters or talk to folks, everyone says we don't want the yelling. We don't want the arguing. We want folks to come to the table and work together and possibly shocking compromise. So, I mean, again, how do we manage that disconnect?
Well, I think it starts with this power of and the idea that you're going to come to a conversation and learn and listen, and probably listen first, you know, rather than coming to the conversation trying to be right. So one of the ways I've been thinking about this is we need to shift the conversation from wanting to be right to wanting to get it right. And thinking that way, I think, is one thing that helps us leverage the power of and.
Aside from Bank of America, if you look in Michigan, whether it be an institution like a higher ed, whether it be some part of state government, a foundation, who else is doing this work and thinking about things in this way?
I think a lot of companies have a version of the power of and, which is one of the reasons why this theme has resonated so well with people.
Yeah.
I think also in some part that theme has given some language to something that a lot of us have been thinking about.
Oh,
you know,
I like
that
that.
if I'm in the middle, where's my voice?
Right.
And this is the opportunity for your voice to be heard.
Yeah.
And also, more importantly, an opportunity to actually get things done.
Yeah. Well, let's pivot a little bit to the conference itself. So as chair, you had a hand in deciding who the folks are that we're going to hear from over the next few days. Who are some of the people who you really think fit well into the power of and who you're just looking forward to hearing from?
Well, all of our national speakers, I think, are interesting in their own right. But what I think is even more interesting is how they are going to interpret the power of and. I mean, I clearly know how my boss will talk about it because I learned it from him. So Brian will be clear.
Yeah.
But, you know, to consider how Liz Cheney will discuss the power of and, you know, she's a very conservative, a politically conservative person.
Yeah.
And she has respect for our democratic norms.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how Fareed Zakaria talks about this in a global policy sense.
Sure.
How Bill Ford talks about this in a convergent sense of the convergence of EV and ICE vehicles and the evolution there. And our panels, I think, are very, very powerful. We're going to go deep on education, on racial equity, and get into how we use those to drive better outcomes for our citizens.
I know one of the things that you're talking a lot about and thinking a lot about are measurable results, right? And what that's going to look like after the conference. Talk to me a little bit about how you see measurable results within this theme.
We've really thought, Zoe, about making the to-do list or the scorecard something that's very organic. And so, you know, when you work with my team at Bank of America, you never leave a call without homework, never leave a meeting without homework. And neither will anybody at this conference. And so we're going to ask every panel to give one action step, one simple thing that somebody can do, something different to help drive the conversation forward in their particular area, along with a metric or two. And we're going to package those up and frankly, start to use that as the beginning point of a framework to drive the conversation forward beyond the island.
What is that going to look like for you? What's your homework?
My homework is going to be to compile this. And then, frankly, one of the things that happens at the chamber, Zoe, is I'm technically the vice chair of the chamber of the board, and I will become the chair of the chamber on July 1st.
Yeah.
So that's my homework, is whatever the framework is, now I own it as the chamber chair, and I'm thrilled and honored to be able to do that.
Just very quickly, what is one thing that you hope someone up here at the conference takes away on Friday?
I hope that the power of and comes down I-75 and stays in our local communities. And I hope to hear that. If I think I hear that in January of next year, or maybe next year here, I think that will be a huge win.
Oh, well, Matt Elliot, President of Bank of America, Michigan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back.
Join One Detroit for a special episode